Hey guys, how's it going? So, in this video is a weekend video, and I'm going to be recording the Hennessy Capital Acquisition Corp, or Canoo CEO's earnings. This is recorded on September 17th, 2020, but this video was actually recorded on September 10th. Right now, I have a zero position in Hennessy Capital, but I'm thinking of making a small position in it because who knows? It could be a winner. Could be a winner. The word could. So, anyways, I'll play the video. I haven't listened to this at all yet, but after I listen to it, I'll give you my thoughts at the end and see if I will buy it. But this will be a weekend video, so enjoy.
Alan, thanks so much for listening in. We're pleased to have the team from Canoo join us as part of our conference. Canoo recently went public via SPAC, and looking forward to the conversation. We've got Ulrich, Paul, and Alex. Maybe I don't know who wants to address it. Ulrich, I see you're not on mute, but maybe for those that missed the SPAC merger announcement call and associated presentation and might not be familiar with the company, do you mind in 2 or 3 minutes just introducing yourselves and what the vision and mission of the company is, and then I had a few more specific questions that we can dive into as part of the fireside chat.
Yes, of course. Thank you, and thank you for listening to us. Let me give you a quick overview. First of all, I introduce myself. My name is Ulrich Granz. I'm in the auto industry for a long time, for more than 40 years, and I spent 30 years at BMW. And now we are really happy to present to you the company Canoo and what we are doing. So what we want to introduce really with our first product is a vehicle, what we call a post-SUV vehicle. And this is designed and pretty much born electric and designed for the urban environment. And our company was founded at the beginning of 2018. Today, we are about 300 employees. We are located in Los Angeles, and we have pretty much everybody, the office and the workshop and our test lab in one building. The building has a size of more than 90,000 square foot, and we are actually already on the road testing our real vehicles, what we call the lifestyle vehicles. We reached our beta prototype vehicles to be on the road within 19 months. And with an investment of about 250 million. So this is a very fast way to bring cars in production and on the road. And with that said, I think that gives you a bit an idea. We have established a team of vehicle experts as well that are coming from the auto industry with a strong background in not only designing, developing, but also launching vehicles and bringing vehicles into production. And we also have attracted about 30% of our team from the tech environment. Since we are located in California and the Bay Area, it was not really hard for us to attract people from the Bay Area. So we are a well-established group. We are now more than 2.5 years in business. And I guess that gives you a bit an overview of what we are doing and who is on the team.
No, that's excellent. Great place to start. I wanted to dive into the skateboard technology, which seems to be the core fundamental, building block of Canoo in general. So, can you just talk about, the uniqueness of that approach relative to, what a traditional OEM would be doing? I was hoping you could dive into that. And then, how your skateboard is differentiated versus some of the other platforms out there that you hear about, whether it's Rivian or earlier today we had a Rival. There's several that are out there, but would love to hear your perspective on that.
Yes, of course. So it is the skateboard chassis is really our foundation for a bigger lineup of additional vehicles, and it is designed right from the beginning to really be flexible and modular. And we are in the way unique that we incorporated every component that is needed for driving, steering, and braking into this skateboard architecture. And the skateboard architecture will be used for different vehicles where we put different cabins on exactly the same skateboard. And the skateboard architecture allows us to introduce different vehicles in a short time and at very reasonable costs. So this was the idea right from the beginning. And what makes our skateboard different from all the, I would say, skateboards or rolling chassis that are out there are a couple of things that I really want to address. First of all, every component is fully integrated in the skateboard. And you can think about it as a rolling chassis. You can actually put a seat on the skateboard and having a controller, a game controller in your hand, and you can drive away with it. It doesn't require a cabin to be attached to make it functional. So this is unique. There is not anything out there in the market, and we will be the first to introduce something like this. And how we did that, there are some key elements. We will be the first company that's going to launch a true steer-by-wire system. And what that means, there is no mechanical connection between the steering wheel and the wheels on the road. And this is something that was also very important for us because we wanted to have a relatively small footprint, but a huge interior space when we put a cabin on the skateboard. And being able to move the steering wheel in a position that allows us to free up more interior space was already key right from the beginning. And the other thing is, if you think about the future autonomous driving, where there's no need for a steering wheel anymore, we just remove the steering wheel. And we can easily move the steering wheel in a different position in the vehicle for a right-hand drive, for instance. So this was one thing. The other thing is we incorporated all suspension components into the chassis. And we did that by using transversal mounted leaf springs, composite leaf springs. They are transversally mounted in the front and in the rear. And what that does, it removes all parts that usually stick out of a skateboard, like struts, strut towers, or dampeners. And this makes our skateboard the lowest profile skateboard that is available as well. And this low profile allows us also, of course, to generate more space for the cabin because there is no strut tower eating up interior space. So this was another key element. And the other thing is what is different from other rolling chassis. We integrated 70% of all crash components, structural elements into the skateboard. So that means the skateboard absorbs about 70% of all crash loads and energy. And the cabin only accounts for 30%. That makes the cabin simpler. And it reduces, again, parts in the cabin and frees up more space in the cabin for consumers or the passenger. And last but not least, we also have a different way how to put the batteries into our skateboard architecture. We put our battery modules directly into the skateboard frame. What that means is there is no box in a box in a box, and then you mount the whole battery pack into an existing body. We attach the modules directly to the frame. That reduces the weight and it reduces the amount of parts and the cost. And it makes the floor of our skateboard also very narrow, very slim. So this should give you a couple of ideas what is unique about the skateboard. And this skateboard architecture we are going to use for multiple top hats that we can put on top of it. The dimension of the skateboard, the wheelbase, and the track allows us to pretty much cover 70-75% of all cars that are existing today on the market.
That's excellent. Very thorough. Just so I'm crystal clear, when you think about the key components of a skateboard, you've got your battery management, your thermal management, inverter, motor. Can you just talk about which ones you're actually making or designing in-house versus
Sure.
what you're buying and then do assembly? I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
you went through all the value of the skateboard and how it's different, but what specifically within the skateboard is sort of Canoo technology versus outsourced?
All right. So it's pretty much everything what is in the skateboard has been designed by Canoo. The thing what we are buying is the battery cell. We are using cylindrical cells, 21700 cells, and this is the only component we buy. The battery module, battery management, thermal management, the complete frame, suspension has all been designed in-house, and of course the powertrain as well. So the motor, the gearbox, the inverter, the onboard charger, our vehicle control modules, they are all designed in-house, and all software has been designed by us and programmed by us. The thing what we are buying is we are working with a partner for steer-by-wire. For instance, this the steering rack and the steering wheel and the force feedback motor attached to the steering wheel. This is coming from a supplier. The rest of it is designed by us.
Got it. That's helpful. And then how do you think about improvements in electrical efficiency? Just as a sustainability analyst, one of the areas that, like, say, Tesla has done really well at is range per kilowatt hour battery pack size. So is that a key focus of you, or what
Yes.
efforts have you done in the last 2.5 years, or where do you see that going? Any thoughts you have on that would be helpful.
Yes, of course. So for us, of course, it is key to really have the best range with, let me say, a minimal amount of battery capacity. So as you know, we have two different battery capacities. The biggest one is 80 kilowatt hours, and when it comes to efficiency, so we looked into every element, like the waste energy for ECUs, for electronic components. So we are switching only ECUs on if they are needed. We have a very sophisticated thermal management system on board, and I would consider what we are doing today is benchmark. So we looked at what other companies are doing, and we are going to do that in better and more efficient. And the other thing is that we are not having any additional components. As I said, as an example with the battery module, we try to remove all parts that are maybe not needed to integrate more functionality in each single part. That ends up with weight reduction. The other thing is aerodynamics and rolling resistance. So it's not only the powertrain, it's the whole vehicle package. And this is why our estimate right now for our first vehicle, the lifestyle vehicle, which is a mono-volume vehicle, that is around 250 miles, and we have a battery capacity of 80 kilowatt hours. And I would consider that very efficient. And when I talk about 250 miles, is based on the US test cycle, on EPA cycle. So if you would apply the European WLTP, it would be higher. And if you would apply the Chinese cycle, it would be even higher. So we take the EPA cycle, which is the most realistic cycle. And this is also the range that a customer can experience while driving the car on the road.
Maybe we could switch gears a little bit and talk about the Hyundai relationship and where that's going in your partnership around EV development with them. Can you just talk about how that came to be and what the timelines are that we should be monitoring?
Yes, of course, Paul. Can you take that?
So this was a partnership that we developed over many months, and we've seen similar relationships with other strategics as well. And as you think about automotive and the long lead times, it does take a while to be able to form these relationships, because if you're purchasing technology that's going to be used in a product that's coming out 3 years from now, you want to make sure that you really do the technical diligence today, that you're getting the right product and selecting the right partner. So this has been a long-term relationship for us that we've been very focused on, and incredibly proud to be able to get that announcement out there, really to validate our technology and what we're doing here internally. We are currently doing concept engineering work for Hyundai. So looking at our existing technology and seeing how we can modify it for Hyundai's specifications not just specific to Hyundai. This is typical for all of our strategic relationships. It's a multi-phase approach. So the first phase would be doing diligence and then possibly doing some concept engineering work. The next phase would be drilling into some of those details in the componentry, building this all out in software, doing some of the simulations and aerodynamics and crash testing. And then a final phase would be, of course, building the actual real world assets and the hard assets that you can test in the real world. And then ultimately, some kind of longer term partnership or relationship as it relates to licensing our skateboard technology. So you have to go through those multiple phases to get to those steps. We have completed one of the first phases, and now we're in continuous discussions with them to continue on with this relationship.
And Paul, is there any other OEMs in different stages or phases that you haven't been able to announce for whatever reason?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
We do have 7 opportunities currently in our pipeline that I would classify as in the advanced stages of discussion. And they do range across the board from anything from just designing simple top hats that can fit onto our skateboard to doing full vehicles that are much larger or smaller than what we're offering today. What's exciting about it is these opportunities are bringing us into different marketplaces. So we're also looking at the last mile delivery marketplace. We've seen a lot of excitement around this sector, and a lot of these logistic players do need EV solutions. And we see this part of the market really picking up. So it's exciting to have some of those discussions related to the B2B side and the commercial side, in addition to some of the consumer products that are out there.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, was around just the flexibility of the different body types that are out there in terms of applications. Can you just go through where a priority is in terms of applications that you want to pursue, both in the near term, but maybe looking out 5 years from now? How many different form factors do you think Canoo will be making with the capital that you just raised? What's sort of the whiteboard suggesting in terms of the end market TAM? You mentioned that you could be applicable to 75% of cars made. So I'm just curious how you think about that opportunity and prioritizing what you want to focus on.
Sure. So we had a very successful transaction that we announced last month. And with the additional capital that we were able to raise through our pipe, we are very much focused on bringing our last mile delivery vehicle program forward. So we will be launching our first 2 products, which is our consumer product, which is the lifestyle vehicle that you heard Willie discuss a little bit about earlier, and then the last mile delivery vehicle. Those 2 programs will be the top priority for Canoo in the coming months and year to be able to develop the prototypes and finalize all of the engineering and design work. We do have additional products that we are targeting. We showed our sports vehicle, which is more of a 4-door sedan, has a better aerodynamic profile. But really, when I look out at the company over the next, call it 5 to 10 years, there are so many addressable markets that we could use our skateboard and products for. So I'll give you an example. We have vehicles that are only going to be available through our subscription program. So we will own those vehicles for, call it 10 to 12 years. If we have a vehicle that's 6 years old, for example, we could take that and put it into a ride-sharing application and save the newer vehicles for the consumers, or direct to consumers. You could also start looking at opportunities in car sharing as well, too. Last mile delivery on the commercial side. And you've recently heard Uber and Lyft make announcements that they need to go green between 2030 and 2040. So these are all opportunities that we're really well positioned today to take advantage of, just because of the flexibility of our skateboard platform and being able to create a lot of space and different types of top hats for our vehicles.
That's helpful, Paul, in order, putting it in terms of priority. Another thing I remember from the transaction a month ago was the ADAS development. I think you were working on level 2+ capability. Can you just talk about where you are in the ADAS learning curve, if you will, what you think consumers in both the lifestyle and delivery vehicles will pay for? That would be certainly helpful to understand. And then, do you have visions of building an autonomous stack, or are you content doing level 2+ for now, and at the future buying an autonomous stack from someone else?
Yeah, I can give you some information about that. Yes, we are, as you know, our product and our products will be for the mass market, designed for the mass market, and they are, I would consider them reasonably priced. So we are hitting for the mid segment of the market. And there's also the reason why we are going to introduce what we call a level 2 plus when it comes to autonomous driving. And what we did right from the start, all our control modules, our ECUs, they are designed to be ready to introduce a level 3 and a level 4. And if there would be a level 5 available, we would be able to integrate that into our vehicles. And not only have we foreseen that in our ECUs or in our compute power, we also have reserved the packet space in the vehicle to add additional sensors. And as you know today, these LiDAR sensors that are needed to go to a level 3, maybe a level 4 autonomous driving, they are still extremely expensive. And they also need lots of power to be functional. So this is one of the reasons why we said, okay, as soon as these sensors are more efficient and coming down from the costs that they have today, we are able to integrate those into our existing vehicles. And this is also something, since we own our vehicles, the lifestyle vehicle, we can easily bring those vehicles back to service and upgrade the vehicles to the next level of autonomy. So this is the strategy that we are applying. And of course, we will introduce, as soon as these sensor suites are available, we will introduce autonomous driving, because this will come anyway, step by step over the next 5 to 10 years.
Got it. No, that's helpful, Ulrich. So, getting a beta done in 19 months is crazy fast. I'm just curious, what are the next steps to go to full production for you? Have you done crash testing, safety certifications? Mm-hmm. What are sort of the key 5 or 6, or there's probably 100, but if there's a way to summarize it in a handful, punch list items that you need to bang out to move to mass production would be helpful to understand.
Yeah, the thing is, what is really was really a benchmark to have our beta cars. We built about 32 beta vehicles. 13 of them are full runners. The others are for crash tests as well. So we performed already more than 50 physical crash tests. And what you do at the beginning, you test those vehicles under the, let me say, hardest legal requirements. So just to make sure that the structural integrity of the cabin and the skateboard is according to all our simulations we did. So at the beginning of the engineering of the vehicle, we used really very sophisticated simulation tools, and we did lots of simulation. And last year we started with our physical crash tests. And what we are applying the hardest tests from the US standard, the European standard, and the Chinese standard, just to make sure that everything works well. And the result was very, very positive. I have to say, we don't have to make any major redesign of the skateboard or the cabin. And the other good thing is we wanted to know exactly how the physical crash test correlates to the simulation. And how we do that, the physical crash test is recorded by high-speed camera. And then you have on your screen, on your computer, half of the screen is showing the real test and the other half shows the simulation. And the best thing that can happen, that it's very close. So that gives you the assurance that your simulation works and that the structure works under real test circumstances. And this is where we are right now. And this is what you do with what we call a beta prototype fleet. And all the things that needs to be changed based on driving, thermal management testing, heat testing, winter testing, we all did that with our beta cars. And all minor changes will be now implemented into the drawing, into the engineering drawings. And then we have to modify the one or the other tool. And with the modification being done, we move in the second phase of prototype. The second phase is what we call a gamma vehicle, and we will produce around 100 vehicles there, maybe 100 plus. And these are vehicles that represent about 95% of the production vehicle already. And this is when you do the final adjustment and the final tuning of all the systems that need to be ready for serial production. And this is how you approach step by step the serial production. And what you do with those beta cars also all homologation. When it comes to, I don't know, there are homologation requirements for restraint systems. You do the adjustment for airbags. You have to make sure that the headlights and the rear lights apply to all the homologation. This is what you do with a Gamma vehicle. And the first Gamma vehicle will be on the road exactly a year from today.
Makes sense. We have 5 minutes left. For those watching, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in. Is there a way in 60 seconds or less, because I have a few more questions, in just a brief moment to describe the difference between a lease and a subscription? You have a unique go-to-market model. I just want to understand, have clarity on the difference and what that strategy is. If you don't mind, I don't know who wants to take that.
Yeah.
Alex.
Absolutely. It is a word that I think sometimes people have trouble contextualizing. And just to level set, it's not car swapping or zip car or like an ultra short-term rental. I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's really a readaptation of a lease model. So if we take a traditional lease, right, and then remove the two elements that people really don't like, which are the 2 to 3 year time commitment, and then what's usually associated with that is your $2,000 to $3,000 down payment. And then we added, it's called 4 or 5 key elements within our package, which is, your routine maintenance and repair and bumper to bumper warranty. So the really goal for us is for a consumer, they're not going to have to worry about any vehicle related issues, right? And then the second is registration renewal with the DMV. So you don't have to go in and register the car yourself. The VIN stays with Canoo. And then we also streamline the insurance process by including the ability to roll over your current or purchase, your new liability within the application. So then, the result of these kind of 6 key decisions is our subscription model, which we look at as being superior to a lease because we can compete on price and then deliver that, superior customer value through flexibility, through the optionality, and through the bundling approach that we've taken.
And Alex, now that Lyft and Uber have both said by 2030 that people need to have electric vehicles if you want to drive for them, is that the plan for, a 5, 8, 10-year-old vehicle? Is that there's a life, that maybe the vehicle has 100,000 miles on it, but someone like that could use it? Or how do you think about positioning some of the older vehicles that still have some lifetime and battery power left?
Yeah. I think it's one of the main options we're exploring, how to repurpose those older vehicles. I think if you boil it down to two areas, the first of which, Jeff, is the ride sharing component, putting those into an Uber Lyft type program. And then the second thing that we could do is possibly putting them into a decontented subscription program, right, where we lower the monthly fee, take away some of the benefits, and it functions more as like a utilitarian, A to B vehicle, and not really the fulsome subscription.
Got it. There's been a couple of questions that have come in around, are you targeting service providers like a Walmart or a post office? Can you just talk about, non-traditional, like, maybe merchants or someone like a UPS or a post office? Is that something that you could do or are planning on?
No, absolutely. That's something that we are actively pursuing today. Again, we see this really as just a platform that can go after multiple markets and multiple different types of customers. As you're thinking about like the last mile logistics solution, we're using e-commerce more and more and more. That's going to be $1 trillion industry by 2022. So you see a lot of these strategics all looking for some kind of solution that's related to electric vehicles, just given some of the current regulatory environments out there and gasoline engines being banned. So we are having a number of those conversations to see how we can play in the marketplace with these various partners.
Another good question that came in is that, there's been a couple pre-revenue companies that have gone public. Someone like a Nikola, for example, which I cover, put out 3 sort of targets that they're going to do business development wise for the year, get a partner for this, et cetera. How should investors, in 2020 and the first half of 21 measure success for Canoo? Is there any sort of structural targets that you put out and we only have a minute left, so I apologize to put you under the hot seat. But I thought that was a good question, so that we can monitor your success. Is there anything you put out in the public domain that we should be watching?
Sure. So obviously, a lot of these conversations are confidential, so we can't disclose the information. We will be issuing some announcements before the year end in terms of some of these partnerships and the relationships. So that's something that I certainly would recommend keeping on the radar screen and keeping a close eye on before the end of this year.
And the truck should hit the road when? Is there a date that we should be, or the vehicle, the lifestyle vehicle, sorry?
Yep. So that's Q2 of 2022 for the consumer product. And then from beginning of launch, it's 18 months for our last mile delivery product.
And another one that came in 10 seconds or less, have you put out pricing? Is there, any details on what this is going to cost us?
We're working with the consumers right now and determining that price. And so we haven't put any numbers out yet.
It will be affordable, though. It'll be comparable to leasing. That's what we can say. And we can also say the wait list is currently open. So if there's interest, Canoo.com, you should go and sign up.
All right. Perfect. Thanks, Alex, for the plug there. But appreciate you guys joining us. It's been very insightful. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Goodbye.
So my thoughts on the interview. Sounds like a solid company. That's just my opinion. Like, I don't really have any beef with Canoo. And the lower it goes, the better it becomes. I mean, the company has cash. The stock is oversold and kind of downtrending right now, but that creates an opportunity. I should have held on. I bought it at 1050. I should have held on. I would have been up decently right now if I held on. Oh well. Now this decline is an opportunity. Just don't know how much it will decline, but I hope I might buy some. Right now I have 0 position, but I might buy a little bit as a swing trade. So yeah, that's my plan. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe for future updates and have a great day. Bye.